Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you here for the opening of our new exhibition, Masterpieces of Sacred Art from the Oleg Kushnirskiy Collection. We exhibit icons regularly, once every 4 or 5 years. And I've been working with many collections in different art forms. And from my experience, I can say that every collection is like a human being. It's different. It has its own personality. They never meet, even though it would be collections of icons or collections of paintings. And they also reflect, of course, the personality of the collector, but not immediately. Some deeper core of the personality is reflected in collections. And this collection is very unusual. Like, as I said, all of them are very unique. But this collection, I've never worked with a collection like this. It's very focused. It's not a large collection, but it's remarkably focused. It has, you know, how there are people who are very put together. They're very goal-oriented, and they're different from other people. So this collection is. So most of the paintings, more than half, come from one small production center, and some villages, some icon painting villages in the same province, in the Vladimir province. And so I'm talking about Palach. Palach was, in the 19th century, a small town of less than 2,000 people around second half of the 19th century. But together with TMORA and Holy, some other icon painting centers in the same province, they produced millions of icons annually, millions. Just imagine how hardworking those icon painters were and how dedicated. And also, half of the collection are icons, works of art. They have the same name. They are painted on the same theme. And this is the resurrection, descent into hell. And I understand why Oleg chose to collect the resurrection icons, because they're very complex. They are deep, you know. Because if you collect icons on, for example, the Marian cycle, so they would be different, and there are many iconographic types. But this icon has a depth of theology, and also iconographies are so very different. Well, let me point out some things that you would like to pay attention to in this exhibition. And also, I would like, of course, to thank our collector again. You know, every museum starts with a private collector. No matter what museum you look at. The Hermitage Museum, it was Catherine the Great. The Louvre, museums in Spain, museums of modern art, they all start from a private collection. And private collectors shape the way we look at the past, actually. This is how, whatever things our collectors put together in their collections, this is how future generations are going to understand our times, because nothing else will be left other than what was preserved. And in this collection, I would like you to understand a couple of things. First of all, as Ilya said, the 18th and 19th century Russian art, Russian icon painting, was not really very valued before, I would say, the 21st century. Because it was considered that, you know, Russian icons before Peter the Great were the true art that was authentic, that was reflecting the spirituality of the artists who painted them, and the national spirit of the icon painting that came from Russia. After Peter the Great, a lot of Western influences began to pour into Russia, and icon painters began to modify how they painted. They began to introduce some Western principles into their art. They began to lose some of the mysterious qualities of old Russian icons. And that's why if you would go end of the 20th century to a collection in Novgorod and Pskov, the gems of those collections would be 15th, 16th, probably early 17th century Russian art. I don't remember back in the 90s when I visited some Russian museums in the provinces that I actually saw 19th century icons. They were not even on display. So the discovery of this art is really happening now in the 21st century. And here in this collection, we have a lot of icons from Pollock, and we know Pollock here in the US as the artist who painted mini Lego boxes, right? That's how we know Pollock artists. And of course, if we look deeper into this art form, we will know that Pollock artists, miniature painters of Lego boxes before the revolution were icon painters. And they were specializing in this highly finished miniature style icons. And they're quite recognizable because Pollock artists developed their own approach to icon painting. They created or modified the compositions of how the iconographies of the icons were structured, and they developed this icon that Oleg mentioned, the icon that has as a centerpiece the composition or the theme of resurrection and descent into hell, and around it there are the scenes from the 12 major church holidays and also some minor holidays, and sometimes the Passions of Christ. Sometimes these icons are called the full cycle icons. They're kind of universal. You have everything in this icon. You have the main key scene that's the whole Christianity is structured about, right? The resurrection of Christ. And around it, you have all 12 major holidays around the icon of the theme of the Easter. And that's why they were extremely popular, because when you have this icon, you don't need anything else. You have a lot painted in, especially with the miniature style that Pollock artists used. They could put a lot into one small icon that every peasant could afford in the 19th century. And this exhibition is structured based on the schools, on the areas where these icons were produced. So we have the niche, we call it the alcove, the black. That's where most of our Pollock icons are put. Then on this wall, there are icons from TMORA and Pollock, as well as Yaroslav. And here we move further away from Pollock, which used to be in the Vladimir region. Now it's in the Ivanovo region of Russia. So here we have some icons from the metropolitan centers of St. Petersburg and Moscow, and also two unique centers for the production of icons. Vietka, that was the Old Believers Center, formerly in the western provinces of the Russian Empire, now in Belarus, and Guslitsi, that's also an Old Believer icon painting center not far from Moscow. And also I would like to thank my installation team. Installation teams are really important in every museum. And my colleague from the State Russian Museum in St. Petersburg, Irina Shalina, who is here, we just talked to her, and she said, I completely understand you working until midnight last night, trying to put together the show so that it's enjoyable, it's accessible, there are some educational moments here, it is well structured and it's nicely presented. And so my installation team, Michael Waltz, Chidi Tyson, our installation specialist, Chris Sigerson, who works both in the collections and in the store right now. And also our volunteers, Katya Andreeva and Linda Hoker, who work with us. I'm really very, very grateful to them, and also the team of the museum staff. Michelle and Mary Bird from the store, and of course Mark Meister, our beloved museum director, whom we love and admire. And Yeah, thank you. We are here. Please come over, ask questions, and especially take advantage of the collector and his son. They're here with us. They will be leaving soon, and they're here for you to tear them apart and ask as many questions as you have. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.